Hi there and welcome along to another workout for you to row along to. Now this is day 8 of the 30 days of 30-minute workouts, and today it's going to be, well, it's kind of up to you slightly how to do this one, because really what we're going to do this is as a bottom tier workout. Maybe yesterday you did more of a time trial option, you went quite hard, and so you're going to need to use today as a regenerative row. Okay, so really take a view on your own body's energy before deciding how to do today's. So we're going to do it 30 minutes, 20 strokes a minute at 2K plus 18 pace, okay? A familiar row, one that lets you work on your base fitness, lets you work on your technique, and will just let you flush out your system after a tough row. But what we're going to do is we're going to do 9.5 minutes of that and then 30 seconds of power strokes. And what I mean by power strokes is that you're still going to be at 20 strokes a minute, but you're going to really give everything you can from your legs and try and just put everything into the machine. Unless you're feeling drained and tired and maybe sore from doing the time trial the day before, okay? In which case, just plow on through at your 20 strokes a minute and 2K plus 18 pace, because it's important that you don't drain your bowl of power, okay? That little bowl of energy that you have in your body that is able to let you row, you don't want to deplete that. And after a tough session yesterday, that might happen, okay? So really just pay attention to your own energy levels, right? Is all I'm saying, right? So let's get into our 4-minute warm-up, okay? Let's get straight on with this. There's no point in me talking too much at the start of this. So we start off by setting up our machine. So go to your drag factor first on a concept 2. That's a lever down the side, and set that where you want it to be. If you don't know what drag factor is, it's fine. I've got a video about that on this channel with an idea of what it is and where you might want to set it. If you just want me to throw a number at you, I row it around about 120, 125, and that seems to give me the right weight of the machine that I get a good amount of force into it without having to heave and tug against it when I row. And that's the same kind of guide. If you don't have a concept 2 and you just have a resistance or something, that's where to set it to, okay? So a good amount of feel from the stroke, but you don't have to grab and fight against it. Next up, if you get the chance, please set your monitor to eye height. So you don't have to look up, you don't have to look down, both of which will affect your posture. And finally, if you're able to adjust the height of your foot stretchers, the foot straps and things, then set them so that the strap hits the bottom lace of your shoe, which should then also be across the balls of your feet. That's a good guide point, but the point is that you want to be able to come forwards with your shins pointing vertically, comfortably, okay? If you're finding you're having to fight to get there, there's a chance your feet are set too high. If you find that you're free-flowing straight past it, then you're probably set too low and you could be hyperextending your hamstrings and your back and all this stuff. So, like I say, across the balls of your feet is a starting point, and then you can adjust from there. Right? So, 4-minute warm-up. We're going to do this at 18 strokes a minute, and we'll start off with the amount of power push from your feet that can let you connect to your hands at the same time. Don't worry, I'll explain this. I completely mangled how I was saying that there, but I'll explain as we get into this, okay? In 3, 2, 1, let's go. So your power generation into the rowing stroke comes from your feet. I know that might be a surprise, but you push your feet into the machine. Push, and that's how the power gets in. But it's not really how the power gets in, because the power has to get up into your hands for you to be able to put that force into the handle to make your rowing machine whoosh or whatever. And so you need to get the timing of that foot press, that push from your feet, and the timing when your hands pick up the flywheel or the water wheel at the same time. So you push and connect at the same time. If you push too soon, your butt scoots away whoosh, from underneath you, and you lose a whole bunch of leg power. If you pull too soon and grab with your arms, you can't get that snap of power into the machine from your legs. So push and connect at the same time. Now, as you're practicing this, just for the next 30 seconds, take your pace up a bit, a little bit closer to 2K plus 20 pace. If you don't know what I mean by 2K pace, then check out the description to this video, because I've run out of time to tell you. But hopefully you've heard me say it enough times anyway. 2 more strokes, and then we're going to put 1 foot on the ground and continue rowing. There we go. This is hopefully not going to feel too weird having 1 foot on the ground. Just going to rock onto the ball of your foot, then onto your heel, ball of your foot, heel, and that should keep you stabilized as you give a good solid push from that leg that's still strapped in. Change your legs and continue rowing. This is all good for just opening up your flexibility a little bit and for putting a little bit of focus on your legs. Get them nicely warmed up. Like I said, that's where your power comes from, so you want to make sure they're nice and warm. Okay, 2 more strokes. 1 more. Both feet in, legs kind of straight, and then rock over your arms. Over your back. Sorry, rock over your arms, over your back, pull in your arms. Okay, so you really want to pick up the flywheel with your back first, and then you pull in with your arms. Okay, then out with your arms, rock forwards. 1 more here. Let's roll to the front of the machine with straight arms, forward lean, and just press out with your legs, not too forcefully. Keep a good posture, forward lean, straight arms, and just connect your feet into the machine. Now I want you just to get used to pushing out in this position, okay? And getting that timing of the feet pressing and your hands picking up the flywheel at the same time. 1 more. There we go. Truth be told, the reason I fluffed that little part about the arms and back swinging is I got a message from my sister. Isn't that nice? I should put on a, nobody interrupt me, I'm making a rowing video. Please, you can't, I'm a professional. Yeah, the last thing I'll ever claim to be is a professional. Right, we're going to go in a minute or so have a quick drink. I will cover my microphone. Hopefully you didn't hear that. And then we'll get ready to go. Now you will notice that the usual graphics are back up on screen. Basically the old way of doing it on ErgZone and the monitor and whatever, that just didn't fly. Enough people got in touch saying, can you not go back to the other ones? And hopefully I've worked out a streamlined way to put them up on screen. Let's just hope. Yeah, the whole point being I didn't want to slow down production of the videos, but you know what, it's more important that you folks enjoy what's coming up. And if you're not getting use out of them and you're like, I'm not going to watch them anymore, I don't get the details I need anymore, then there's no point in me making them in the first place. So, right, what we're doing today is 30 minutes at 20 strokes a minute, 2K plus 18 pace. We row for 9.5 minutes, then we do 30 seconds worth of power strokes. We row for 9.5, 30 seconds power strokes, row for 9.5, 30 seconds of power strokes, unless you are feeling drained, in which case, just keep on going at 2K plus 18 pace the whole way through, okay? So as it is, 20 strokes a minute, 2K plus 18. After half an hour, that's a good old workout anyway. So if you're feeling a little bit drained, I don't want you to kind of really drain yourself out. Okay, so we are 1 minute 40 into this rest after our warm-up, so we might as well get ourselves strapped in, and then if I can hit go on the button right as we hit 2 minutes in between the two, then things will have worked out perfectly. So right, let's get ready to go in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, let's go. So, 20 strokes per minute, 2K plus 18 pace. So that's 18 seconds slower than your average 2 kilometer time trial pace. Now, I do get asked a few times how often you should do a 2K to kind of keep your training pace honest. And truth is, just whenever you can, every time you think you've had an improvement, do a 2K. If you think you know what, my training's gone well, I think I could go faster, then the best way to know that is to give it a bash and see. I mean, the opposite, you might want to just, like say you had to take a few weeks off. Maybe you were at work, or I'm not going to say illness because that's not quite as applicable, but say just life got in the way and you haven't been able to row for a couple of weeks, then you can kind of just slow down your training pace by 3 or 4 seconds until you feel you're back to where you were. But when it comes to improvements, you're best to actually do the 2K time trial to prove you are that fast, because otherwise you can be training a little bit too fast when you're not quite ready for it, which isn't too much of an issue when it comes to the top tier or the mid-tier workouts on my performance intensity pyramid. But it's these bottom tier sessions that are really important to not go faster than the pace guide. One of the toughest things to try and get people to do is to hold the pace down on these sessions. Whether it's, I don't know, part boredom for some, or just because it's easy to go faster. I find a lot of people will get in touch and say, oh yeah, I did so-and-so session. I felt like pushing it a few seconds faster. Still felt good and whatever. It's not really the point. The point isn't to do a session like this at like 2K plus 15 instead of 18 and still feel okay. The point is to keep this down at the lower end of intensity and exertion so that you can build up your core fitness, so that your blood system develops and becomes more efficient at carrying oxygen around your body and taking carbon dioxide out of your body. And that's what these 18 strokes a minute and 20 strokes a minute, and even the 22s too, as long as you keep your intensity and heart rate down by sticking to the pace guides, then that's what will happen as you're rowing them. But if you suddenly push a session like this up to 2K plus, say 15 for the whole row, suddenly you've increased the intensity and you've left the value of this session as prescribed. So what you've done is you turned it into a mid-tier, mid-intensity workout, and that is coming tomorrow. So you'll have run 2 of them, one after the other, and really run the risk of emptying your bowl of power that you have available when you're rowing. It's like, odd reference here, but the Highlander movies. Highlander 1, good film. Highlander 2, not quite as good. But what Highlander 2 had was just this idea of like life force, that your body has an amount of life force, and Sean Connery at one point summons all of his life force into one point. Anyway, that's kind of from row to row how I see it, that every time you sit down to row, you have a certain amount of energy available. And that's what I call the bowl of power. So you sit down, you have a full bowl of power. You do a session like this, you're only going to use at maximum about half of that bowl of power. And then you're spending your time on a session like this, giving yourself a bigger bowl, refining that energy so that it can be used more efficiently too. And then you go to a mid-tier workout, and that will use a good 3/4 of the bowl. And that works on mostly just efficiency, how it's able to keep you going as you row. And then the top tier ones, workouts, well, they end up using the entire bowl of energy that you've got, but also they work out how to supercharge that bowl of energy so you can go faster. So from that analogy, the bigger bowl you've got, the faster you'll be able to go, and for longer. So use this session to give you a bigger bowl of power, so that when it does come to me asking you to row fast, you've got a full bowl. Right, hang on. I'll continue this analogy very briefly after our first set of power strokes, which are coming up after this stroke. So here we go. Full power. It's all about pushing with the legs. Think about connecting that point when you push into the machine, and that point when your hand, and the handle picks up the flywheel. One more. Good job. And then back to 2K plus 18. Now, just one last thing to wrap up my bowl of power, which I see as like a big silver pewter bowl with lots of hammered dents in it. And every time you row something like this, it smooths the sides of the bowl, makes it bigger. But like I say, A workout like this will use up about half of your tank of fuel, of power, but then because you're only using half of it, by the next day it's completely filled itself up again. So if you do a bottom tier row like this, and then tomorrow is a mid tier intensity, you've got that full tank because you've done this bottom tier the day before. And then even if you're facing into a top tier that empties your tank, and then the next day you sit down and your tank has only really got to about half to 3/4 full. I keep saying tank and bowl. Hopefully you understand I mean the same thing. So if it's only refilled to about, let's say half to 3/4, then you just do another bottom tier session, and that will help your bowl fill back up again, ready for the next day's session. And if you can just think about it that way, about where is your bowl of power, how are you feeling, then hopefully you won't run out of energy for your sessions. And that's why even through this 30 days of 30 minutes thing that I'm doing, I'm still kind of rotating the bottom, mid, bottom, top, bottom, mid, etc. So that even though I'm not taking any rest days, because I'm allowing my body to recharge after the tough ones, because of a regenerative row like this one, I should be able to keep going through the whole 30 days. Really, I'm gonna figure the only thing that will stop me managing all 30 is gonna be injury. Possibly work getting in the way too, but hey, I'll keep on rowing whenever I have the spare hour or so that it takes to make these, and hopefully work won't get in the way. And then maybe one day I'll find a unfit billionaire who's willing to bankroll me so I can give up work and just make videos for you guys. Oh, that's the dream. Or, no, I'll tell you what, the dream would be that I suddenly get asked to play the drums for some big band, and then as I'm touring around the world, in between shows, I'm then able to make some videos for you folks. This is the kind of daydream I tell myself as I lie in bed at night, trying to fall asleep. I've got such a difficulty falling asleep sometimes. Slightest noise wakes me up, and that drifting off thing, oh, just takes forever. This is why I can't sleep on planes, because it takes me like 10 minutes to drift off to sleep. And if within those 10 minutes there's any kind of noise, I just get a huge shot of adrenaline and I wake up, and then that's it. Unable to drift off again. Tried noise cancelling headphones and stuff, but it just doesn't work. I have to be tucked up like a bug in a rug. Anyway, sorry, less of my sleeping habits. More about rowing. So we are 2 minutes to go until the next set of power strokes. And really, what I'd like you to concentrate on, especially if you haven't thought about it much before, is that your power comes from your legs, okay? I kind of joked around it in the warm-up, but if you can get away from thinking that this is a pulling action. So many people think that rowing is all about the arms and that the legs are there just to move you backwards and forwards, whereas that's totally not true. Your legs are here to explode that power into the machine. Every time you push, you should think about pushing the machine away from you and sending in blue flame of power as you do so. And if you have straight arms and you are leaning tilted over your hips into the front of the machine with a good posture, as you push, when you connect your feet to the handle, you should really feel you're hanging off it, and that power just surges, flows into the machine. Okay, in 3, 2, 1. All right, let's try that. So push and really feel that hang off the handle. Push, keep those arms straight and that forward lean until at least halfway into the legs drive. I totally haven't been putting in much power. Okay, back to normal pace. 2K plus 18. I'm only throwing in one of these every 9.5 minutes because even if you are feeling fresh today, I don't want you to drain that bowl of power. But by basically splitting this half-hour row into 10-minute chunks, you should find that it flies by for you. And that's kind of a big part of what I'm trying to do in this 30 minutes of 30, or 30 days of 30 minutes series, is by doing all of these half-hour workouts, you suddenly realize just how short half an hour can be and how manageable it is if you're doing the right session. So maybe you're the type that just sits down and does 10 minutes at a constant pace, or 15 minutes worth of sprint and rest. And that, up until now, has been the only kind of rowing training that you've been doing. Then hopefully, throughout the course of this month and the 30 sessions I'm putting up, because apart from the odd few, I'm breaking them all up into smaller chunks. Mentally, hopefully, it's not going to feel like you're rowing for half an hour. Time should just fly by. It's a really simple brain hack, and one that works regardless of the distance or time you're rowing for. Like if you're rowing a 10k piece, just break it down into 1 kilometer chunks and only ever look that far. Don't worry about the whole 10k. Just face into the 4 minutes or so that it takes you to cover 1 kilometer, and then go to the next one. And not only does that make the time go by a lot quicker, because you're not looking to the end of the journey, you're just looking in smaller chunks. It also means that once the intensity kicks in, if you're breaking your row down into smaller chunks, hopefully it won't get on top of you. I've said before about the magic number 4, where if I'm rowing and I start to find the intensity is overtaking me, I'll basically just count in strokes of 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, then 1, 2. I don't have to keep on doing this, do I? And what it does is, because it keeps resetting every 10 seconds or so, I'm not getting a chance to really linger on intensity. I'm just thinking about resetting my stroke rate. And that kind of distraction of focus onto something else works really well. Got another thing I do where, when it comes towards the end of a 2k or 1k or 500 meters, and everything is on fire because you're putting in everything you've got in the closing stages. I just concentrate on my pinkies, my little finger, and just think, how are they doing? I keep on pushing just as hard. I keep the stroke rate up just as high, but I just think, how's my pinky doing? Red rum. Hashtag red rum. And then even just shifting my focus onto them for like 10 seconds is enough that even if the intensity is still as high, because I've not been dwelling on it, it's like I've come back to it invigorated. Whereas if you're really just in the last 2 minutes of a 2K thinking, this is awful, I'm tired, when will it stop, this hurts, it's just a snowball effect. That negativity, you're never going to get back out of it. So instead of digging yourself deeper, or if nothing, not being able to dig yourself out of it, just jump out of it by distracting yourself with something else. There's other things you can do, like my sister Pamela, she in fact I spoke about this in the 5K plan, how she was saying that if you lick your lips when things get tough, it stimulates your vagus nerve, like a nerve that runs all through your body, taken from the word vagabond. It stimulates that, and then your parasympathetic system comes into play and makes you feel less stressed. So if you're ever in a stressful situation, if you're able to, lick your lips or run your finger over your lips. That might be a bit weird though. And in fact, I keep on thinking, if I was in a dark alleyway and someone was following me and then they caught me, if they were all like, give me your wallet, and then I stood in front of them and just went and licked my lips in front of them, might work, might scare them off. Or same with going, ooh, oh, I've missed the power strokes, I was too busy telling a joke. Right, 3, 2, oh dear, 1. Answers on the postcard from anyone who was yelling at the screen. Idiot, you're not doing power strokes. I was too busy trying to be funny about being trapped in an alleyway. You know, like I said, those 30-second power strokes were just in here to try and break up the 30-minute row anyway. In terms of a training workout, you probably would have been best to just have done 30 minutes of 20 strokes a minute, 2K plus 18. So if we did skip out that last one together, sorry, then that was actually good for you. I'd love to say I planned it, but I didn't. So we'll get into a cool down in about 20 seconds time. Make sure and have a little drink so that you are just lubricated, if you want to use that word. Ready for it. And we'll just pick a pace that you know you can cool down from. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. I'm going to go for 18 strokes a minute, 2K plus 30 pace, which is always a good starting point for me. It's enough of a push from the legs and a connection of the arms that my muscles have to activate, and therefore the blood is pumping through them, getting rid of carbon dioxide and any other acids and stuff that are left in your muscles after working hard. But then today's session wasn't that tough anyway, especially because we didn't do the last 30 seconds worth of power strokes. So you shouldn't really be too exhausted in the first place, but it's still important to do a cool down, just to flush out your muscles, just to reset your brain, just take a moment to think about your body positions through the stroke, which, to be honest, today's workout was one of the rare ones where I didn't really talk about technique. Mentioned that importance of the forward lean, arms straight and pushing with your legs, but that was all. So I'll make sure and talk more about it tomorrow, but hopefully if you started this 30 days of 30-minute workout series from day one, you'll already have heard me going through technique a few times, but it's still important to think about it all the time, so I will continue to talk about it. Okay, that's me finish my cool down. You don't have to finish just because I have, and if you do, then just do some stretching just to make sure that you don't seize up or anything after today's session, just while I say goodbye to you. Recommend stretching the quads, hamstrings, shoulders. If you are the type that grabs on the machine, then maybe biceps and forearms as well. And like I keep on, every time I say this, I say, oh, don't worry, I'm going to make a video about stretching. So yeah, I'm going to make a video about stretching. The last thing to say about technique is that I'm going to put up a promo video later on today to announce this properly, but hey, you guys can get to know about it first. I'm going to start doing form check Fridays. Okay, someone got in touch and suggested it, and I thought, what a good idea, why didn't I think of that? So thank you very much for the suggestion. Where basically I look at videos of people rowing and kind of comment on it from my point of view, what I think is good about it, what I think might need work, and importantly, things that they could do in order to try, like drills or things to think about in order to try and improve their technique on the rowing machine. What I'm going to do is I've downloaded a whole bunch of just stock video of, like, I just typed in to the stock video thing, indoor rowing, and there's a whole bunch of people that, like, models that they've just brought into a gym to row, and it's hilarious, some of the techniques. So this will be a really good set to start on, because you can look at it and then go, all right, I'm nowhere near that bad. Then what I'll do is I'll probably look at my own stroke a few times, because I talk quite often about things that I get wrong. Like, I do still have a tiny butt scoot that goes on, and I do have this back rounding in, so I'll then talk about my own one, and hopefully what that means is that over the course of the next kind of 2-3 weeks, 4 weeks maybe, other people will start to send me in videos that they want me to look at in the Form Check Friday thing that they don't mind me sharing with other people and talking about. Or maybe you could send me a link to someone else. Now, obviously, I don't really fancy looking at Graham Benton's stroke and commenting on it, because he's fantastic and he doesn't need to change anything. Same with like the British rowing squad or whatever. I'm not really going to touch them. But if there's anything that you've seen that you're like, that you just want me to comment on, then send it to me and I'll make a little video just kind of saying this is what I think is good or bad, because I really think, honestly, analysing other people's technique teaches you so much about your own. I learned so much about my own stroke. Like, trust me, even as bad as it is right now, it's so much better because I started to learn about technique, how to teach other people and what to spot in other folks, so that I could then spot it myself. So if you watch these videos, hopefully you can then, when you see yourself, you can go, oh, right now I'm doing that thing with the hips that I saw so-and-so doing and all that kind of stuff. So So yeah, so hopefully it's going to be a valuable session. I'm going to do it on a Friday night, so that means that Fridays are now always going to be about spaghetti and about form check Fridays. So hopefully that will be good. So yeah, so there we go. So that's just a little bit. But back onto the subject. I really hope that you enjoyed today's row. It was just that recovery kind of or regenerative bottom tier row. Sorry about missing out that last 30-second sprint. And hopefully, now that the main graphics are back, then people are a little bit happier with the video. Yeah, so we'll see. The fact that I'm doing this is a straight 30 rather than all the rest periods and stuff, this kind of makes it a little bit easier to make them, so I'm not losing too much time doing them. But if it gets too much on top of me, don't be surprised if you suddenly just see the ErgZone screen coming back up again. So there we go. That was today's row. I did throw out a hashtag halfway through the row today, and I've now completely forgotten what it was. So if you can remember whatever it was that I said halfway through the row, then by all means use that. Otherwise, let's just start using hashtag form check Fridays for this one, just so that it's on there and I can see that people got this far through the video. Ha! Because who knows, maybe you're just like, God, this guy's still talking. So anyway. Thank you so much for being part of this. We are on day 8, so we're getting there. It's getting harder to work out how to make these bottom tiers a little bit more interesting, so apologies if they just kind of revert back to 30 minutes of 18 strokes a minute. The mid and top tier, you can do, the world's my oyster, but for these ones, it's a little bit tough to keep it low and slow and interesting at the same time, so we'll see how we get on. Again, answers on a postcard, whatever your suggestion is. So yeah, there we go. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for everything that you do, just commenting and watching and letting me know that you are on the other side of this camera, because otherwise I'd be like, why am I making these? So take good care of yourselves. I didn't know what I was saying then. Take good care of yourselves. Stay safe. Be well. Bye-bye.